Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Nancy B. from Denton, Texas. Please silence all cell phones.
They asked me to do that. This is a Jack in the Box. Oh. Now they're getting my podium. I mean my pedestal.
No, your spring.
You know, I was doing all right until they read those signs of maturity.
Give me your phone. Give me the phone. Give me the phone.
Oh. My name's Nancy Burkhalter, and I am a grateful member of Al-Anon. Thank you. I've had 4 people give me a phone. I wonder why. No, I'm kidding. Okay, very few places that I go that I feel like I have so many people to thank and situations to be grateful for that I wrote them down. And anyway, and she told me I had actually until the banquet time. So I'm going to take a little time to do that. Wendy and Anita. Not only the fact that they stepped up and said, you know, I'll do that, but all of that, but the way they've carried themselves through this whole process. When I hear people talking about, oh, you know, and that happened, you know, and then that happened, and then that happened. Thank you. Okay, I'll try to say it faster. Okay, Wendy and them. We don't see the glitches. We don't see the glitches because of good people who say they would do something, they show up and do it. And for the sweet gift, thank you for that. Beth, for letting me play with the other cast members. And I've totally cleared my calendar in case they ask us, you know, to take it on the road. So got that, yeah. Laughter. The laughter. We needed that laughter, didn't we? You know, I was reminded in the family meeting, great shares in the family meeting, that the sounds of alcoholism don't usually include laughter. And so many people find that when they come back inside here. So thank you for that. And Corinne for being Corinne. Yeah. Who's now in the bathroom, and you can tell her that I told her. She's been a dear friend forever, but not only was she a dear friend and she stepped up and knocked it out of the park last night, she was my nurse. I couldn't talk yesterday, and her and Lisa and several people gathered together, and I am not sure what I took. Just tell an Al-Anon that you don't feel good. And if you'll come by the room, you can, I boxed up the things that y'all brought. Okay. The past chairs. You know what, guys? I'm serious. I don't know if I've been anywhere where anybody made a big deal about the past chairs. And here's all I want to say about that. First of all, I don't know all of them, but the ones I do know are among some of my heroes and my friends. And you know what? Alcoholism is alive and well. It's out there. But the solution's in here, and we have these people who keep coming back to keep us on the right road. So I think thank you for that. That's a great thing to do. You know, for everybody who took a commitment and then did it. Apparently, when I first got in recovery, I just thought that, you know, I signed up for everything. I like seeing my name signed up. I don't know, but I didn't realize they want you to follow through. And it took me a while so I'm kind of glad I got here today. And my friends Mary and Linda, I got here Thursday morning. And they made a childhood dream come true. I went to Disneyland. I wanted to, you know, I told some people yesterday, you know, I'm between 39 and a Walmart greeter. Okay, so and for as long as I can remember, I wanted to go to Disneyland. But I grew up in alcoholism. And I'm sure that we intended to go. And you understand that. And I walked around that park, and bless their hearts, it was like having an 8-year-old. And I will never forget that experience. I'll never, because so many of my dreams have come true since I met you. And, my hostess has actually thought of things to be of service to me before I knew that I needed them. You know? It's and I always love it when they send an Al-Anon that's got some time to the airport. They always arrive the same day that you do. And Brian, as you know, that doesn't always happen on the alcoholic side. Get a little distracted. So, but thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll just apologize to all of you who asked me to say your name just so it'd be on the CD. I can't remember who all that, but I am so grateful to be here. It's such a privilege to be here because this is one of those places where I can't tell you how many times, either on the elevator or walking around, I've heard people saying, "This is my convention. This is mine." And wow. Well, I wouldn't miss this. Well, why would I ever think about missing this? And we need that. We need this. And certainly we need people like you to keep having these so that these newcomers with 2 days know where to go. Where to go. And I've only been here 29 years, and so I need them to know that I'm going to stay on the path, looking forward and reaching back. I'll usually introduce myself as an Al-Anon, and I stopped doing drive-by Al-Anon in May of 1986. And my friend Dana's here, and she reminds me that I coined that from her, okay? But I want to tell you about that real quickly, and then I'll get going. I can't remember the exact year, but obviously before 86, when someone broke my heart. Broke it. And if it's my heart, it's real broken, okay? And I was just miserable. I didn't know which way to look. And I'd heard about Al-Anon, made fun of it. And so I went to Al-Anon. Let me tell you what happened. People came like you would in any one of your meetings. There's no doubt in my mind that you greet that person that you don't recognize, and you talk to them, and you show them the literature. You did all of that for me. And so I went a couple more times. And then I felt better. I felt relief. I was gone. Now, as you're going to hear, all my relationships were drive-by experiences. Even at home, okay? But the truth is, you gave me the tools and everything that I needed. And yet it never dawned on me to stay so that I could greet the person coming in after me. And so that's why I say in May of 1986, I stopped driving by. And I went in and I sat all the way down in the chair. And you gave me all the things that I've needed one day at a time, so that even though I live in Denton, Texas, not real close, you're glad I'm still going. You're glad I'm still going. Because you just give me a minute and I can mess up a good day. So when she said this is a Jack in the Box, I thought, this kind of describes how it was for me. I'd pop into your life at any minute. Just to help. Just to help. And whether you ask for it or not, And but I want, in my defense, it was always really good advice. And it was fresh. I'd never used it. I mean, it was just stuff that was right off the, the press. And I have probably waited many a year for somebody to put me on a pedestal. And can you back that up on the CD? My sponsor's going to hear that. And if it gets boring, you make it better, okay? I was born. Oh, and I have a laugh button up here. They in case you don't laugh, it'll make me feel better. And they gave me several other toys up here. They said, we need for you to notice how we decorated the podium. I think they're hoping that I will lighten up. So here we go. She gave me this stopwatch, but time actually means nothing to me. I was born in Pasadena, Texas, and it's not my fault. That's where my parents lived. And what I know today that I couldn't have known then is that I was that kid that was born, and maybe things are going to get different. Have a baby, have another kid, and then my daddy would come home more, and those kinds of things. There's somebody making that baby today. I mean, it wasn't unique then probably, and it's not today. But I know that, and so from my earliest existence, I was brought into an alcoholic home. Let me tell you just real quickly how I know that. I see it differently today, but this is how it felt to me then. My earliest memory is that my mom and dad are in the kitchen, and my mother has a death grip on my daddy's face, and she's going, Ray, I want you to go to work, and then I want you to come home. Go to work, come home. Yeah, it's funny to you, but I'm going, he is in special classes. He, unlike myself, is not intellectually superior. And by the age of 10, I really knew I was the smartest person I knew, because it was easy when you lived there. But the truth is I just panicked. I went, but I don't want to forget that my first thought really was how that was going to affect me. I said, this isn't going to look good for me, for my parents to be special. And who on earth would need to be told, go to work, come on. And then I began to think about it. My daddy could go to work. He went to work when he shouldn't have. The coming home part was kind of rough on the old boy. And here's why. I know it, I understand it more than I wish I did some days. My daddy worked hard. He did work hard, and provided for us. And he believed that once he finished working, he could stop by the local, have a couple of beers, and then come home and have dinner with the family. Now, that never happened. It never happened that I can remember. Now, you have to remember, these are just a whole different pair of glasses. It felt like every single day, my mother would be cooking that dinner relatively calmly as the clock started getting close to 5. Apparently in Texas, families are supposed to eat at 5 o'clock, okay? And everybody sits down and you say, how was your day? And whatever. Never happened. But it might today. And if you're outline, you understand exactly what I'm saying. It could happen. You never know. But that clock would get closer to 5 o'clock when his tires were supposed to come in the driveway. And the minute the clock struck 5, my mother's whole personality changed. My mother was not an Al-Anon, she was an alligator. Okay? When you think about it, they've got big old eyes and they snap right when you're not looking. And baby, they can track you down. Right? How do I know? Because I got to tell you, I'm serious, her whole personality changed. And it was only me and my brother that lived there. And she'd go to the phone, she'd start dialing it, all the numbers right here, and none of them said pediatrician. It was like Bloody Bucket, Joe's. There was about 5 choices. Is Ray Burkhalter there? No. Is Ray Burkhalter there? No. Now, you're going to have to stay with me. We know where he isn't. Because that's what they said. So she'd say, get in the car. I don't want to get in the car. But we're going to go get him. Where he isn't, apparently. But she would find him most times, first time, even though he'd park out back where his truck was invisible. And some of you laughing did the same thing. Yeah. And so you send the kids in. It's kind of a funny story, isn't it? What's not funny is that I don't want to go in that smoky bar one more time and try to convince my daddy to come home. But alcoholism doesn't leave anybody out, and that's not very funny. And it seems like it happened every day. Of course it probably didn't. But you know that feeling. Because you helped me know that I had to go back to that feeling. And that I could tell the story exactly how it felt to me. And you would listen. And that's what happened. It seemed every day. Well, then my daddy would finally say, okay, you know what? He'd come out in the parking lot. Let's go home. And you know how I know I was raised in alcoholism? Because when my daddy would come back outside, my mother would say, I want you to ride home with your daddy. She has no idea how much he's had to drink, how long he's been there, but what did she know? He would come home. And she needed him to come home as badly as he needed to take a drink. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Let me tell you what I got. I began to develop an arrogance. Even alcoholism tears you down. But I began to have this huge arrogance built on absolute terror. And I began to believe that I had to be intellectually superior. I had to appear as though I had more money than I did. That's the only way I could exist. So from my earliest memory, I began to be as so fake. So fake. I wouldn't have known in a second what I felt on any given day. I wouldn't have known a feeling if it slapped me. Because I don't want to go get you. I don't want to bring you home and punish you. And I remember asking my mother one day, I said, you know what? Why do we do that? Why don't we go get him instead of sitting down and having dinner like actually right after it's cooked? And she just looked at me, and I promised, just like she was teaching me, honesty is the best policy. She said, if we don't go get him, he won't know that we're angry with him. She meant it with all her heart. She said, and so we get home, that we were not to speak to him. And I said, you know, you can't talk to him. And I said, apparently we don't like him a lot, but we bring him home so we cannot talk to him. And she said, if we talk to him, he won't know he'll be punished. He's being punished. It is crazy. It's kind of funny. But the truth is, she believed that. She believed that the solution to alcoholism was if we punish him, punish him right, if we punish him enough. I think she thought my dad was going to wake up some morning and say, oh, go to work, come on. Cool. And it just, so I developed an arrogance and a hatred for these people that was palpable. I did. And I treated them that way. And I didn't talk about that a lot before I got to you. I treated my parents terribly. And I wouldn't even disgrace this podium to tell you some of the things that I called them and things that I did to them. I wouldn't. But it was the only way I felt like I could survive. I needed somehow to desperately believe, again, that I'm better than and I'm smarter than, and that any trouble that I ever had was absolutely their fault. And there's a difference in thinking something and being desperate to believe it. Because if I'm not better, if I'm not smarter, I can't sit at a table and have a conversation with you. It makes me sad to remember that, but it was my truth. And so there was nothing authentic about me. But okay, so I go to school. Of course I did. And I did well in school. And then it's time to go to college, and I'm going to be rich and famous. So, okay, I majored in education, which was, in fact, a glitch, okay? But I go to college. And so at least now I'm moving from alcoholism to what I believed. I thought, hey, if I can just get out of Dodge and go and I'm going to be somebody. Really, don't look at me as to who I am today. Because, see, I'm going to be somebody. And that's what I only wanted you to look at what my potential might be. And so, but here it is. I get to college and I began to form some friendships because I tell you, alcoholism didn't teach me how to be a friend among friends. And I didn't have high school friends or people that I'd come over for a slumber party. You don't know who's home when they're home. Okay? And so now, but I'm in college and I was an athlete and I began to make some friendships, and I overheard someone saying, yeah, we're going to go to Livingston tonight, maybe hear some music and drink, we're going to party. And my thought was immediately, whew, thank goodness I got here in time. Oh, listen, I'm lucky to be alive, because there are people in college that think partying is appropriate, right? But I, on the other hand, know that drinking's bad and people who drink must be punished, okay? Because they're very bad. And I always enjoyed punishment phase, okay? I do have to say. So anyway, and I'll never forget, I said, okay, the only people who can go are the ones fit in my car, because I am the designated person. If you're the designator, you can designate yourself. Yeah, so. I mean, I'm in charge. And I said, so the only people who can go are the ones that fit in my car, so I could be in charge. But now, again, in my defense, I'm not going to tell you what year that was, but my car was one of those Impalas that was about the length of this room. You know, it wasn't any little sport car going down, you know. And so they piled in. It's amazing how many people you can get in a car. And I'm on the way there, just like some of you did, I know, with husbands and family members and whatever. I'd begin to practice the training session for how many are you going to drink. And because you know what? I'm beginning to actually like these people. And with a complete clear conscience, I don't want them to become a pathetic second-class citizen like my daddy. And I'm telling you, let your imagination go way below that, what I thought about them. But I think that I'm saving the ones that I can, okay? And most of you only had one to watch. I got to tell you, we'd get to the bar, we'd get somewhere, and they would spread out on me. It still brings tears to my eye. I mean, I'm going, oh. It'd be like trying to track them in this room, right? But I did the best I could. I did. And I would get, you know, here's what would happen. You know, the same people who drank and passed out. Those friends of mine that went home with people they did not know. I lost some of them every time, okay? But I got as many of them back in that car as I could. And I'm not kidding, I can still get a little heartbeat. My heartbeat goes when I think about, because we're about to be in punishment phase, okay? So now I'm trucking back to the university, and back then they had metal stairs in the dorm. Ooh, okay. I would say, you know, just stay in the car. You stay in the car. And so I'd take you, and I'd help people halfway up the stairs. And I'd just let go. Clear conscience. That sounds like this. That's good. I mean, it was beautiful. And, or I would, now it's your turn, get out. And I'd help you. In a dorm room, I don't know if some of you remember, you know, the 2 little twin beds and 1 table and a desk, whatever. I'd prop them up on the table. And I'd say, I'll get your pajamas out for you. Knowing the second I stepped away, they going down. They were going down. And, and I know some of you tried to drown your husband, but you know, it just gives you a rush when you think about it. I mean, so, but what's kind of sad about this, it feels good to laugh at it. Thank goodness I laugh at it because you helped me heal it. But the truth is that I'm now believing that that's the solution to alcoholism. And I got to tell you, it wasn't then, it isn't today out there. It's right in here where we are with these people leading us down whatever road we need to go to. But I did that for 4 years. And I tell you what, I don't have friends. I never still didn't make any connections. I don't have friends that I can remember from college or that I contact. I've gone back to the university. I have 3 of them now because remember, I'm going to be brilliant and rich and famous. Kind of gets me, it's hard to say it now. But the truth is that I graduated, of course I did. And so I moved to Houston, Texas, and I'm going to change the course of education in America.
To obtain additional copies, receive a free catalog of AA and Al-Anon talks, or to find out about our tape and CD of the Month Club, call Encore Audio Archives at 1-800-878-1308 or visit our website at www.12steptapes.com.
If you're an Al-Anon of my type, you know that what I just said is I can't walk into that building to take my first job unless I believe that. I got to believe that I'm going to make something happen. And as soon as I do, I'm going to take time to be happy. I'm going to take time to be happy. Now, I could have retired probably about 15 years ago if I had the money that I used to move. Because they wouldn't listen in this school district, so I'd go to a different school district. And then even if they did listen, they just couldn't meet my standards, so I'd go over here. I did. I moved around all the time. Because you know what I'm saying? I'm looking for something. What is it going to be? And oh, by the way, I'm not talking about a lot of friendships or relationships, dating. Oh, no. I saw what happens when you're married. And I don't want any part of it. And you know what's sad? Is you can do it. You can close down your heart. I was like those old commercials. Now, don't admit it if you can remember this. You know, where the clear Colgate thing and you can't get to the tooth. I don't know why I just used that as an example. Anyway, but I was hard, and I was way okay being hard. And it wasn't like that I ignored my parents. I really did treat them badly, and I told anybody, anytime that would listen, how bad it had been, right? But I want you to think like I never went home. I went home every single holiday that included presents in the back seat and maybe the keys to a new car. But let's not forget, I want this on tape, they ruined my whole life. And I believe that. Now I'm graduated, I'm about to be a professional, I'm going to be out on my own, but let's not forget what I had endured. And I needed you to know about that. Because then if you saw any flaw whatsoever, at least you knew it wasn't my fault. Very sad. And so I continued to move, I taught school, I did, and then then I did something I never intended to do. I fell in love. And I really never intended to do that. And I fell in love, and so I'm going to be with this person forever. And at 3 years, she forgot. And don't you hate that? I mean, you have to give a 30 days notice for a dadgum apartment. And there are people who just get up and leave, right? And apparently that happened to me a lot. I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I don't know how to be a friend or a neighbor or a little sister. And I certainly didn't know how to be a daughter. I did not know how to do that because I thought there will never come a day where I step across that line where I care about anything. It just doesn't work. And I did that. And there I am in that jack in the box. Because I'm popping in your life because I'm going to pay your deposit on your apartment because then you won't leave me. You'll be my friend. I'm buying people's stuff. I'm doing whatever. I mean, there was literally no integrity about me, I realized, because I couldn't tell the truth. I don't know what that is. I used to lie in my own diary when I was a kid. Do you realize how long that back where I go, I'd get home and I'd had a horrible day. I'd just make a good day. So I think I made 3 more friends today. Oh, just whatever. Whatever. There was just nothing real, right? And then came that day when somebody, not myself, somebody else realized I was in trouble. I was in trouble, that I truly, I wouldn't ever say that I got suicidal, but I got to a place where I was so dark, that the only thing that I had that meant anything to me was that I taught children, that I was able to teach children. And I was doing public school, and I was a public school teacher for 26 years, and that's really the only thing that made any sense to me. I got up, I went to school, I came home. And and by the way, I'm getting a lot of teaching awards, and that felt good. It's not hard to get a teaching award or any kind of award where you work when you do your job and her job and his job and whatever. And I just wanted to help. With a clear conscience, I would say, I wanted to say what my mind is saying is, since you are inadequate, I'm going to do this job. That would have been honest. I would have had a little integrity. No, I was like, you know what? Let's work on this together. Okay, what do you want me to do? I want you to stand over there. Pretty much. I did that to people. It's funny today because you helped me heal from it. But that's who I was. That's who I'd become. I just had to believe things that weren't true. And sadly, I didn't know things that were true that could have brought me happiness till I met you. And someone suggested, I don't talk a lot about this, but it's coming up. Someone suggested that I go to treatment before you find out about alcoholism. Codependency treatment's what they call it. And I did. I went to Florida. I knew that if I tried to do anything in the town where I lived, I wouldn't stay. So I got on an airplane and I went, and I was there 30 days, and I learned about alcoholism. Thought I knew some things. I knew that you were pathetic. I knew that there's no way you could succeed. There was, and that the rest of us just had to endure. That's what I believed until I went and found out about the disease of alcoholism. I could tell you story after story of ways that the only thing that I could get through a day was to take care of something that was outside of me. I was clueless that anything could be going on inside me that needed to change. I've heard many a new Al-Anon walk in and go, well, I came because blah, 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 blah. Well, the Al-Anon speaker talked about, I don't have any problems. The only problems I have is you. That's the problem. And you believe that to your innermost self, right? I'm making good money. And I'm driving a new car, and I'm living in some singles apartments. Now, my daddy paid for that, but let's not forget, he ruined my whole life. But I came in Dallas. Anyway, so when my forever left, of course, it doesn't get me down anymore. I had shorter ones after that. Forevers. But anyway, but the truth is, it was just something finally happened. That some people just look at you like you've grown another head when you look at somebody and say, man, I hope you hit bottom so hard on that you bounce. Because that's what I needed to do. I kept trying to do the same thing to make the result turn out different. Let's see. Oh, yeah, they call that insanity. But remember, I'm brilliant. And I was almost too smart to get this. You know, I wanted to collect data. I wanted desperately. In fact, I did. When I was in graduate school, I thought I was going to collect some data so I could be the first one to walk in a meeting and say, a tradition 5 does not work. I mean, so that's kind of what I brought you. Okay? That's kind of what I brought you. This is telling me the world clock, but I have no idea. Y'all just pull on my skirt. But not real hard. Okay. So I finally, like I said, I went through Al-Anon. You gave me everything Al-Anon has to offer, and I'm out of there. When I went back to Al-Anon, I felt the same desperation, but I knew at that time what you said was true. I got to stay with you. I got to get in there with you. And then I got to reach my hand back, because there's going to be somebody whose heart's broken just like mine. There's going to be a parent who has an alcoholic that they describe it, and it's just like my daddy. One day at a time. So I did. I started going early. I had a sponsor. My sponsor was from West Texas, and my late sponsor. And let me tell you what I had to put up with. I'm going to just get this over with, because you're going to like me a lot better when I tell you. My sponsor was one of those people who would say, well, West Texas, well, can't think of anything that's so bad throwing love at it won't help. You know, I had legitimate problems. And I'd call and I'd be telling about the things that people had done wrong that day at work. Well, I can't think of anything so bad that throwing love at it won't help. Okay, you got me? That's my sponsor. And as I've already told you, oh, by the way, I have 2 degrees at this point to prove that I am intellectually superior. Oh, by the way, see, I got my master's degree. Did I tell you I got my master's degree in 9 months, and I made all A's? That's who I am. That's who I am at this point. I really want you to know her. I think I'm going to be walking in the mall and somebody's going to go, oh my God, is it you? Here's the truth. Here's the truth. I got my master's degree in 9 months just because I wanted to go home, and I was so arrogant. I said, I don't need any help with this. I kept making my life harder. But now, when I acted that way with you, I got, you know what? I'm not really concerned much about how you feel today. In fact, I'd like to ask you to act better than you feel in this situation. Fine. I actually worked with a couple, Dennis and Linda Lamphere. Some of you knew them, and they both went home too soon. But I worked with both of them. And in fact, when I'd call with a very significant problem about, you know, someone else's life, whoever answered would say, pick up the other line. It takes a village. Fine. Yeah, but I put up with that. I just want you to know because I got to tell you, these people were those, like many in this room, who worked the program all the time. Yeah. They sign their name on the dotted line and then they show up. And now I'm learning to be that person. I'm learning I didn't do anything to help this happen, right? And there aren't words for me to tell you how grateful I am to be a small part of a really big deal. Wow. Because let me tell you something, if I do anything today that is kind, if I think of you for a second more than me, it's because they have their fingerprints all over me. I might be the person that literally calls you in the morning and said, I just want to tell you I was thinking about you right after I thought about myself. You know, when you say, oh, did I say that out loud? I didn't, you know. And you know why that could happen to me? Because today, I tell you what, you're going to know me as well as anybody when I get done. This is it. This is it. Because I'm so willing for you to picture the arrogance and the judgment and the, need to believe things that were not true. I remember one of the things Linda said to me one time. She said, if you'd get busy on these steps in Al-Anon, you could get your family back. And I went, don't want them back. I believe that, don't want them. I have a big brother that I just think is probably the best man on the planet. Didn't know him. He's 5 years older. I'm getting to know this person in these last 25 years. I didn't know him. And he is just a fine, fine man. Guess what I found out because of working these steps? He thinks I'm like totally cool. I'd have missed that. And so when they asked me to start going early, because if you weren't there at this time, you actually were late. Remember, I'm brilliant. I go, huh? Do you have a sponsee that gives you the schnauzer look?
Yeah.
I was fortunate because I'd be on the phone and I'd be, wow. And so this is the kind of sponsorship that came to me. That, by the way, it just seems like God puts it on my heart to talk about this a lot. So I'm gonna do this for describing how my life is today. But I want you to know I have sponsorship like this in my life today. But my foundation, I want to tell you about my foundation. I started, whatever they asked me to do, I started saying, okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. And one day I called, and by the way, there's a lot of newcomers in here. So you listen up. The other people, you don't have to listen, right? Okay. When you wake up in the morning and you realize that you're much more important than what people are treating you like, not the time to call. Not necessarily the time to call your sponsor. But something had happened that that affected my life greatly. And I called and I said, I'm working pretty hard down here. And you know how you can the words are just hanging out there? And I said, and I was just kind of wondering what I'm going to get so I can give it away and spread it all the way to California. And because I'm pretty sharp, and let me tell you, right when I thought they were going to just blast me, Lyndon and Dennis, both on the line, said, you know what? We have some promises for you that will come true for the rest of your life. And I thought, I wanted to say them to know that I knew that they're about the AA promises on page 83 and 84. That went, no, precious. These are special promises for you. And if you'll give them away, they'll come true for you for the rest of your life if you stay in the middle of the herd. Stay right in the middle. And I said, man, every other word out of your mouth, stay in the middle, stay in the middle. Let me tell you something. I know this is as much today as I did when I first got to you. There's going to be a day when I'm going to fall down. I will fall down. I'll wake up feeling more important that I'm being treated. And if I started backing up, less meetings, backing up, not needing to make that phone call, and now I'm on kind of the outskirts of the circle, of the herd. And I fall. Even though you'd want to, you can't catch me. I know that people in here would catch me, because I tell you what, I'd do whatever it took to catch you. But when you're out on the outskirts, nobody can catch you. I got it. And so what they said was, here are the promises. I said, should I write them down? They said, well, let's just go through the promises, and then if you want to write them down, you can. I said, okay. And for my Al-Anon program, it started like this. He said, Nancy, somebody like you should definitely go to meetings, a lot of them. And not just when you think you need it, not just when you kind of want to, all the time. And I said, okay, because what I promise you is you're going to meet people whose insides feel the same as yours, no matter what their outsides look like. See, when I got to you, I did notice what part of town you lived in. I did notice what kind of car you drove. It's not who I ever wanted to be, but I was. And if I told you, I just found out that I might possibly have yet another health challenge, okay? They tell me I'm pretty sick. What do they know? I might, okay? Now, I know that two things just happened in this room. One, you care about it. And some of you will hit your knees tonight and you'll say, oh, that Nancy, I was going to have some tests this next week. Don't forget about old Nancy. I believe that with all my heart. So, that promise describes my life today perfectly. I go to a lot of meetings, and I haven't found my herd of people who feel like I do on the inside, who won't lie in their diary anymore, who want you to see me exactly as who I am today. Then I was promised that if I would study the literature, I have a few degrees. Now, they reminded me of an instrument that has a lot of degrees on it that I'm not going to mention. So I don't talk about this much, but here it is. When they said, what do you do with a textbook, professor? And what will you study it? I had edited. I had done all kinds of things. I rewrote things when I thought they weren't written well. Let's just put it that way. And by the way, none of that's actually been published. Okay? Apparently, they'll never be as Nancy sees it. Okay. But study the literature. Well, let me tell you something. For years, I've had people come to my house on Wednesday nights that choose to, and we study the literature. See, they open their home all the time. And they've experienced something that I never was willing to try so that I could experience it until I did. And that's, my home is never the same once the people leave. The spirit in my home today is never the same. So that promise describes my life perfectly today. I was promised that if, boy, this is amazing to me. I was promised that if I worked the steps in order with a sponsor, I could become anybody I wanted to be. Do you remember who I was? Sometimes it's hard to look back, isn't it, to who we were. But I want you to know I'm not her today. I know I'm not her today. And that's because I said I surrender to the program of Al-Anon. I found a God of my understanding, and it wasn't so hard to say, please, I want you to do it. I don't even want to be a consultant today. I don't. And if you pray for me, for example, I want you to pray for God's best, because that's the best there is. And then all you told me to do is quit lying in my diary. And I wrote all those things just the way they were. And I gave them to somebody else who cared about me more than me. And then I got a chance to look another human being in the eye and take responsibility for my part in something. No matter what. And then I realized every single day I have steps that can keep me in that position of freedom and surrender. So, it's true for me today. I don't have sponsors in my life that take spring break. We are always in the steps, and I'm good with that. But this next one will just blow your mind, and I'll be done. I was promised that God would always be big enough. And if I ever questioned that, I needed to look at the judge, right? And I thought, you know, but what about, I can still do that today. Don't get me wrong. Did God go to graduate school in finance? I was promised that God would always be big enough. Now, I've got some examples certainly today, but this one it has to do with my parents. Seems to be what is it? What could possibly have happened that I would change enough to honor my parents? Doesn't make sense to me. I don't want them back, remember? Let me tell you, my dad got sick. My dad never got sober. My dad got sick with cancer, and I remember that he was in the hospital for what we didn't know would be the last time. And I panicked, and I called, and I said, you know, I don't know what to do. I'd made some amends. Here's how I can describe it. I had stopped doing some things that I should have never done in the first place, and I'd actually started doing some things that I should. It certainly wasn't where it was going to go, thanks to you. And I said, I don't know what to do. And my suggestion was to go in the hospital room and touch him. He went to Texas Tech, they went to Texas Tech. That's how sarcastic I was. Like, is there somebody else? I said, I'm talking about what do I do? My dad is dying. Well, guess what? I'd never touched him. I have no memory of that. And I grabbed his foot because it was the best I could do. When I'm using my power, I grabbed his foot. But guess what? They're never satisfied. And they wanted me to do it again the next day. And they wanted me to do it again the next day. And then they wanted me to look in my daddy's eyes and say, I love you, if it's true. And because of you, I started loving him. I knew that I had started loving him. Never told him. And I looked my daddy in the eye, and I told him that I loved him. And then they want you to do it again and again. And, you know, that was in May of '88. And December 25th, at 4:00 p.m., my daddy went home. And the last words that we spoke to one another were, I love you more than you'll ever know. Boy, was that the truth. How do you get to there? But see, God was big enough. I still do not know how to think of you more than me. Well, guess what? My mom, I got a chance to do that for 12 more years with my mama. But let me give you an example. When Nancy's in charge, I was worried about my mom after my dad's funeral. And I called my sponsor and I said, I don't know. I feel like my mom is really weakened or whatever. She said, well, are you touching her? Are you telling her that you love her? And I went, she's not sick. I got to tell you, I need your laughter about that because it doesn't feel too good. But I can laugh with you today. But the truth is, that's what happens when I'm on my own. But God was big enough. I got 12 years. I got to buy a home and bring my mother to live with me. I don't cook for people I love it. And I'll never forget. What does this have to do with the program? I think everything. She wanted bacon one day. It took me, I cooked bacon for 45 minutes. Apparently you're supposed to turn it up a little more than I did. The fire kind of scared me, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I cooked that. You know what? It was the best bacon my mother ate ever. Yeah. I never treated her with the respect that a child should treat their parents. And let me tell you something. And on November the 21st, in the year 2000, My mother was in the hospital. I had a commitment, and she knew you by then. She knew. And she'd say, Nancy, you got to go. You've got a commitment. I figured she probably would have called my sponsor, but I said, Mama, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And she said, well, you got to go. And your brother's coming tomorrow. That was all true. And so I got up into bed with her, and I had a flashback that I promise you was as vivid as I'm looking at you. And it was remembering that one of my favorite whines was, I don't even know if my parents rocked me when I was a baby, which is kind of silly when you're 60, okay? So, apparently. Well, anyway, I have this memory, and I think I had this memory because I had my mother, I had my arm around my mama, and I was rocking her. If I didn't have anything else to thank you for, that would be enough. And so I said, Mama, okay, I'm going to go. But you want to sit in the chair? She said, yeah, I do. So I put my mama in a chair, and I knelt before her. Because you taught me that humility is the ability to stand up, but the willingness to kneel down. And you'd given me all the strength that I needed to have the confidence that God could do that for me. And I did. I looked up in her eyes kneeling before, and I said, have I told you today how glad I am that you are my mama? And I left that room, and 5 hours later, she went home. No unfinished business. No unfinished business. That just can't happen except that God will always be big enough. And the last thing that I was promised is to, Nancy, give away a little bit. If Wendy asks you to come to California, say yes. If your home group needs a greeter, say yes. See what that's like. And when you say yes, then you show up, right? He said, why don't you just give away a little bit? Because you know what, in comparison to what I've gotten, everything I do is a little bit. It is just a little bit. I don't have enough time on this planet to give back to you what I've been given. But if I did that, the promise is that I would get back tenfold. Look around. Look around. Imagine what I'm getting to see right now. And so to tell you that I have no words for how much a privilege it is to be a small part of your really big deal. It's my very truth. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops. Wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.